remember you. Good to have you here. And let's see who else is coming in. Anyone else joining us, just say hello so that we know that this is a little bit different for us. Usually we have a live audience. I have participants in the room. So type in, okay, hey Laura. Anyone else? We're gonna wait a little bit more. Esther, okay, good. All right. Yeah, it might take people a little bit to get in, so it might take us a few minutes, but just hang in there. Juliet, hi. And for those of you just joining us, just bottom right-hand chat, just say hello so we know you're there, out there, and alive. So these are interesting times for all of us right now. We just finished, you know, for those of you who don't, 2 years ago now, to Huntington Ave. We're diagonally across from Symphony Hall. And man, it's been a long haul renovating, but when you come and visit us, which we hope you do soon once all of this is over, you're gonna find a beautiful space. New studios, just amazing lobby, lots of marble. It was an old bank. So it's pretty cool. We're really happy with it. If you're joining us, Joshua, hey. Oh yeah, Joshua, hey, yeah, I remember. And you know, it might take people a little bit. Sometimes if people haven't been to these live stream sessions, it takes them a bit to actually find the page sometimes. I hope you guys found it okay. And we'll just wait a little bit more and then we'll get going. I think 7 people signed up for this. So they'll probably eventually arrive. We'll wait about 1 more minute and then we'll get going. So, you know, I'll tell you guys a little bit about the program. Some of you may already know it. Some of you may have studied with us before, but you know, there's 3 methods of singing out there. There's classical training, which is for classical music. There's theater, musical theater, and it's kind of a hodgepodge of things, totally legitimate, but you have traditional musical theater, and then you have everything that's come along. It's evolving constantly. So, you know, we have elements of pop, elements of gospel, elements of classical, all kinds of stuff in musical theater. And so when you're out there and you're studying with any kind of teacher, you know, if you're trying to sing pop and you end up with a classical teacher, which is what most people end up with, you never really 3, 4, 5 years later, you still find yourself, you know, not able to do what you're hearing on recordings, you know. So we're going to cover a lot of that tonight. Let's see who else is here. Self-made, hey. All right, anybody else that's joining us, just feel free to say hi in the chat over here. And what we're going to do is, I did read over what everyone wrote, and it's very interesting in the sign-up sheet, because almost everyone says the same thing, the things they're interested in, the quality of their voice, their range. Some people want a little more embellishment. Some people need help with pitch. We're going to cover those things tonight. And the whole idea is to give you more leaders. So I think we're just going to launch right in at this point. So, and in case you just joined us, just say hello in the chat bar. So one of the things I want you guys to do, even though I read the registration form with everyone, is just write one thing, your biggest thing that you would like help with vocally, so that we make sure that we can cover that in this seminar. So yeah, so just put that in there, but I'm just going to launch right in. So in 40 years of doing this, there hasn't been one single person that has walked through the door with good breathing. It doesn't matter where they came from. Now, it doesn't mean that they weren't shown something. They just don't do it, you know, and for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes they're such a good singer, they don't think they need it anymore. You know, maybe they did it at one point. So we have a wind instrument here, and what we need to be able to produce is a steady, even flow of air. And whenever I quiz people, and I don't quiz them to give them a quiz, but whenever they come in, advanced singers, intermediate singers, beginning singers, but anyone who's studied, and I say, so what about your breathing? And they say, yeah, I was shown something. They don't even usually remember what it was. So we cover that as the very first thing. It's so cliche. It's one of those everybody knows breathing is important in singing, the average person on the street. And then who does anything about it? Zip, zero. And what we need to be able to do is produce a steady, even flow of air. And so there's a lot of different ways that can be done, but for a pop technique, pop being short for popular music, which covers rock, blues, jazz, gospel, R&B, soul, acoustic, alternative, punk, it's not classical theater comes under this thing. And so the breathing technique that we like to use is this abdominal, using these abdominal muscles right here. The diaphragm is inside, and we want to fill up the lungs, but not let the lungs expand. We kind of hold them in position, the chest here, and not let this expand. And then the lungs have to go somewhere when they expand, so they push down on everything and push this out. So let me get to the side here and see if you can see this. Do you see that? Now, the exercise that we do, we're trying to condition these abdominal muscles to be able to produce a steady, even flow of air. So you do this for about 5 minutes a day. It's a fast breath in, and then slow and smooth outward for about 10 seconds. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. And it's a fast inhale in. And it doesn't matter whether you're breathing, inhaling through your mouth or your nose. It's whatever is natural for you. But when you're exhaling, we're singing through our mouth. So definitely let the air out through your mouth. And we don't want any of that noise or any of this. This is all you're controlling the flow of air from here. So we want the control of the airflow from here. And if you do this about 10 rounds every day, within just a few weeks, you'll start to notice a difference. Every advanced singer that walks through the door complaining about, I can't hit this note anymore, I'm having trouble on that note, my notes are uneven, something, my tone quality, whatever it is, it's always breathing. It's always breathing. And the second exercise that I'm going to show you here, which is all about the vowel shapes for English. 5 minutes. It's incredibly important. It's very much like basic stuff, anything else. Next thing is vowels. So vowel shapes. So we have these phonetic sounds in English. Usually everyone knows the vowels A, E, I, O, U, but then there are all these phonetic vowel shapes that make up the rest of the words. So we have ah. So we have the simple vowels, like one sound, ah. And then we have ah, as in law. So ah, as in love, ah, as in law, eh, as in when. So these are just made up of one sound. Then we have what we call combination vowels, open and closed vowels. So an open vowel is a vowel you can open wide on. Closed vowels are the ones that are difficult to open. So such as E, 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 ooh, ooh, and eh. And then we have 5 combinations of open and closed vowels. So ah has ah-e as in I and night, ah-oo as in now and how, ah-e as in joy, ah-oo as in so, and eh-e as in a. So we have 5 combinations, and then we have 4 closed vowels. E as in me, oo as in you, as in her, I as in him. Now, there's about 20 different reasons to pay attention to these phonetic vowel shapes in singing. One problem people run into is that they try to sing the way they speak. And that's okay in the lower register. I can sing, so the way I speak it, enjoy. Now, the minute I go up, starting to go up, speaking sound in the lower register in a voice. So we're so muscle memory and speech development, memorized in how we speak words that when we go to sing, we try to sing the way we speak those words. And it's very difficult when we get up high. So watch, when I sing joy, I can sing it the way it's spoken. Now I get up high, joy, you know, right away it sounds tight, it sounds nasty. So we have to do something about that. And what we do is we get people to open 3 fingers wide. Start looking at, after you hear about this, the best singers, and you will see in most cases, because this is art, it's not science, so in most cases, this is more like a guide, a rule of thumb, you'll see the top people as they go higher and higher in their range, 3 fingers wide on these open vowels, you know? So instead of singing down here, sing high and sing it the way I would speak it, it would be joy. It just doesn't sound that great. Whereas if I sing joy, see, hopefully that didn't blow out the microphone on the computer, and then you could hear that. So we need to get into the habit of opening 3 fingers wide. So while you're sitting there, and before I go on to this next part, if you have joined us in the last few minutes, just say hi in the chat room so we can see who's there, the chat bar on the right. So the exercise that we do for this is what we call a 3 fingers wide open vowel exercise. Everyone do this. 3 fingers in your mouth. And this is where we have to go with this. 3 fingers wide, and we just speak these words. They're going to sound ridiculous. So you pick a word for the vowel, and you go us, and you go law. 3 fingers wide, law, and then 3 fingers wide. The sound, as in when, wah. Now this seems maybe completely ridiculous, but just go and watch the top singers. You will see when they get higher and higher and higher in the register, they are majorly open. In most cases. Once in a while, you'll find someone who closes up there, and it sounds really cool. You know, it's art. If it works, great. There's an advanced technique they're doing that you would learn about later, but mostly we just have to open it up, and that's what you'll see that most singers do. So we go through these vowels, and there's an exercise, you know, to get you opening 3 fingers wide. It's very, very important. It's these 2 exercises, breathing and vowel shapes, they form the entire foundation for a great pop singer. After that, we have 4 tones. This is like painting. You know, most people come in and they may be using 2 of these 4 sounds I'm going to talk about, or they're using 3, but excuse me, they're not even aware that they're actually using them. It's kind of like a painter who's a good amateur painter, and they copy things and they sort of figure it out, but they don't really know how really it's done. And so this is where we talk about these 4 tones. It's like 3 primary colors in painting, 4 tone qualities for pop, and you won't hear anything else other than a scream. So in the lower register, we have 2 tone qualities, both for guys and for gals. So we have, down in the lower register, we have what we call the low range whisper. And it's this sound, it's 2 imaginary vowels. One is the note, and one is the actual air sound. And we have to balance those. It's like, ah, and you hear the wash of air. Ah, takes on this breathy whisper quality. So let's see, we were getting a little bit of a connection issue there. I hope all of that came through. So I'll say that again. If you want to hear a really great example of a lot of this breathy whisper quality, listen to Celine Dion at the beginning of My Heart Will Go On. But this is used with everyone, and I'll give you some examples in a minute. So we have to be able to produce this breathy, airy quality in the lower register. The second tone quality is called low range bright, and that's more like E, and the vibrations are right here up front. E, E, E. And so this is an old song that I've used quite a bit because it goes from one extreme to another, the beginning of the song. Hi. And then the second tone quality used is the bright. So we have whisper first. How do you say goodbye? And I hope this is coming through, but you can, best we can, hear the whisper and the bright. And then the best people are switching back and forth, sometimes on a dime. It's like, how do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh, outweigh the bad. See, and we're just shifting on a dime instantly. So that is in the lower register, and you'll hear this both Bono going back and forth on this bright and whisper on. See the stone set in your eyes, see the thorn twist in my side. I'll wait for you. And it's like shifting syllable by syllable at times. So we have those two tones for the lower register. Then in the upper register, we have the other two tones. One is head voice, and it's everything from the Whitney Houston big boom right off the skull, right? And then what we call full voice. Now, this is an interesting term, full voice, because we had to come up with a term for this. Because down through the years, you have in the theater world, you have what's called the Broadway belt. And that's this, there were microphones, you know, same with classical technique. So we had to use these various parts of the body a certain way to get the biggest sound out there when there were no microphones. You know, it's a style, it's legitimate, it's for theater, it's for classical, you know. Pop singers, we quite often have microphones. So we're right up on the mic and singing, you know, see the stones, you know, this low chill thing, you know, and we're shifting from whisper to bright back and forth. Then we have, and then up in the upper register, what we have is an interesting phenomenon with sound called harmonics, you know, and harmonics and overtones, it's kind of one and the same meaning. They're all the sound frequencies and waves that occur above the basic note. So if I play this note down here, you hear the note, but you hear all that buzzy stuff. Those are all the harmonics. Well, everything that can produce a sound has harmonics connected with it. You hear the main part of the note. The rest of the stuff that's occurring creates this note sounding like a piano, a voice singing that note sounding like a voice, a saxophone sounding like a saxophone. So why I'm bringing this up is because when we hear this, I gotta be, you know, we're hearing so many harmonics all at once because we're just trying to push sound out there. And that was part of the technique and still is for that type of theater. But as pop has evolved more and more, and you know, all of American pop, worldwide pop for the most part, is comes from African American roots, you know, and so you know, it's a blend of Western European and African roots together that we met this mashup that we end up with American pop music, and all the different styles under it. So the way that is different than this thing, the Broadway belt. The Broadway belt is, you know, we could say it's full, it's big, everything, but it has a different set of harmonics. And this is why when you hear a theater singer, someone who's been trained in theater or classical, they can sing a pop song, you know, by anybody. And we all kind of go, cool, you know, on a local level, you know, and we all kind of know they sound kind of theatrical, you know. So when we get into pop technique, we have to produce the right shape for the sounds, you know. So when I go here, the full voice technique that we need, we're producing a lot of upper harmonics and a basic part of the note, you know. So it's like this. But all is fair in love. And you listen, and I hope it's coming through on the computer. You can hear these upper harmonics in the note. It's not this big love, you know, it's this other thing that you heard, and we're shaping this. This is why, again, it comes down to vowel shapes, and we've got to learn to shape these vowels the correct way so that we get the right set of harmonics, not just coming out of the mouth, but off of the skull, you know. And this is very much like a speaker cabinet, you know, and we get this thing, our big goal all the time is to get this to come to life, meaning start to respond to the sound vibrations that are coming through and produce the right set of harmonics. We do this routinely with every single singer, no exceptions. So we have these four tones: the low register whisper, low register bright, the full voice, and the head voice. And the job at hand for every singer is to be able to produce a steady, even in tone. So I already sang the full voice one, and I held what we call a long tone, meaning a long held out duration note. So in the lower register, I could sing this right here in whisper, summertime. And we want, you know, a pure, even tone. One of the big hallmarks of an amateur singer, and not to say, you know, anything bad about people, you know, just regular singers, you can study this technique just because you want to be a better singer or because you want to be really successful at this. It's good for everything. But a hallmark of someone with not a lot of training is too much vibrato. They end every single note, you know, summertime and the living is easy, fish are jumping, because they don't really know what to do with the note, and they're afraid if they don't put that in, the note's going to fall apart. So exercise and the vowel shapes is so important so that we can produce a steady, smooth flow of air, and then when we work with long tones, just as any other wind instrument does, and in all 12 vowel shapes, we get really good. Anything you run into in English or most of the other Latin languages, you know, in the world, you know, Italian, French, English, Spanish, Portuguese, almost every language, you will find these vowel shapes are what's really important. So that's the deal for long tones, and in the bright up front here, where we have to have vibrations, resonance occurring here, E, E, and we've got to be able to produce a steady, full, long tone. E with nothing in there, and that's where breathing comes in, and then working with, and then with head thing, long tones in all the various vowels, and then that full voice that I demonstrated also. And then we have to work with scales so that we get very precise when we're singing melodies, and we have to be able to sing, you know, may, and we always start with a 3-note scale, just 3 notes, because it's one of the weakest things that almost every singer coming through the door is weak on. They can't sing 3 notes precisely, and those 3 notes are in almost every song, some form of 3-note. So we have that. Then, so long tones, scales, and then we have to work with phrases and then whole verses, you know, in all of the 4 tones. So everything I just described here to you is what's called level 1, you know, and, you know, the job at hand for anyone as a singer is, you know, with an instrument like this, it's a winded, good breathing. So cliche, but man, it is so neglected like 99.9% of the time. I still have to beat everybody into it that studies with me. Do your breathing, you know, it really falls apart in the recording studio. We'll be in the recording studio, take 3, take 4, the singer starts to get a little anxious, everything starts to get this little unevenness, you know, in the tone. When you have great breathing technique, man, it comes straight through. There was this story I usually like to tell people and sit on the couch and talk afterwards. She just bolted from the stage because, and later she said, I was so nervous, my knees were knocking. Now you wouldn't have known it, and I think you can still go and see that performance, you know, online. Amazing technique, but that held up. Were knocking that she couldn't go over and talk afterwards. She just bolted from the stage, you know, and I remember seeing that performance. It was amazing, you know. So good technique will pull you through no matter how nervous you get, no matter what circumstance that you're thrown into, and that's the bottom line. It's just we've got to have great technique. And when we don't work on our basic technique, it's very much like, and it's been my latest example over the last several years, it's like having Tom Brady go, no, I'm good. I threw some passes 6 months ago. I'm good. I don't need to go to practice. You know, it's basic technique, mechanical exercises over and over and over that then get turned into art, and that's the deal. So now I'm going to look at some of the chats here to see what some of the comments are that I can answer or for you guys, hopefully. Lots of highs. Okay. Okay, I hope the video is the video coming through okay? Oh. Okay, I guess we're having some choppy. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. I hope this is. I hope you're getting something out of this. Are you guys? Does anyone have any questions for me right now? Oh yes, we do Zoom lessons. Yeah. And I think it's something. Unfortunately, I think it's something in the area tonight because I've done Zoom from here. I've done YouTube. I've done all the formats. And early afternoon, there was something going on with the internet. So I hope you're getting something out of this. Do you guys have any questions for me? Oh, okay. So example of changes for vocal quality. So we have these four different tone qualities that I mentioned: the low range whisper, the low range bright, full voice, head voice. And I'll give a really obvious example. Like I could sing this song and sing one phrase in whisper and one phrase in bright, and sing whisper, desperado. Now I'll sing bright. Why don't your senses, and whisper again. You've been out riding fences, and then bright for so long now. Now that's not normally how people will do this. So it's you sort of feel it, you express it, and this whisper and bright. We could say that there's a spectrum. On one end, whisper, on the other end, bright, e, and all the shades in between. Everything I described to you earlier is what's called level 1 in our program, and it takes about 10 to 12 weeks or 10 to 12 lessons to get through. Then when we get to level 2, this is where the quality of the sound really comes to life, where we really start working on, now let's get all of these four tones, give people the chills when you sing, that they just create such an impact, when people hear it, just the quality gets better and better and better. But it's not just the quality shift from one tone. When you hear Whitney Houston sing "Saving All My Love for You," she goes through about 3 different tone qualities. Let's see if I can do it from me. Yeah, maybe it's here for me. So the saving all my love for you, and it's like say, that's full voice, all my love for, and that's the low bright, and then head voice, you, 3 tones in one phrase. You see, and the best people, they're shifting all the time. That's one of the sort of hallmarks of pop music. Whereas in classical, for a woman, it's one tone, head voice, the entire time. In theater, it might be what we call chest voice, which is the lower register. Instead of he, breastplate. And before the microphones, we needed this to project the sound, chest voice, right? And then, so then here in a pop, so in theater, you get like chest voice in the lower register, both for guys and girls, and then head voice quite often. Theater has evolved, so there's more and more pop technique involved in it these days also. And then in this, we just express ourselves and we use all the different tone qualities. All right, that's that one. And then let me see what else we have here. Oh, yeah. So how we tailor lessons for people, it's this is kind of like painting school. If you were going to painting school, you would learn about color, light, perspective, brush strokes, canvases, media, all this type of impressionism, realism, surrealism, abstract, modernism, all these different things. And then if that's all you ever did and you went out in the museum and practiced and copied paintings, that would be like being a singer who does great cover songs, Then as a painter, you have to create your own style. So when we say for you, Esther, how do we approach this? Well, everyone, all of these four tones are in every type of pop music. So you've got to learn them and get really good at them. You'll really hear what we're talking about when you start to go back and listen to all these singers. But then how they're used is what makes the difference, you know, especially a lot of advanced technique on what's called level 2, about the use of rhythm and phrasing and timing, and how much we're opening or closing, which creates a whole other sound. But at first, how much we're opening or closing, which creates a whole other sound. But at first, the best way to figure out your range. Well, Stephanie, this is a really interesting thing. You know, in the classical world, they kind of put people in a pigeonhole, right? And I don't know how true that is because I don't teach classical. But in what we do, every woman has potentially the same range. You know, we don't use terms like soprano, mezzo-soprano, alto, because they don't really apply to a pop singer. Those are terms more for like head voice, you know, in classical. So we have these four tones, and we can get every single woman up to this high D minimally in their head voice. And when we do, we know we can get them up into what we call the diva range here, which is the C above middle C up to that F, 2 Fs above middle C. And when we will range. Okay, let's see what else we have. Oh, yeah. Laura's suggesting maybe we can represent this, and we might. We'll probably have to do this again. We'll schedule it again. I'm sorry about the connection. Mike S, is it possible to expand the range? Absolutely, we do this with everyone. So yeah, there's no exceptions to that. You just have to do it the right way. Mike says he's watching on YouTube TV. Is that better? So let's see what else we have here. Oh, good. You're doing great. Just some lag, but it's still going okay. Okay, good. Welcome to the world we live in right now. For years, because we have clients from all over the world. But I've said to a couple of people this week, you know, this is what it's going to be like when some of us are living on Mars. And yeah, I study with this guy who lives on Mars. Yeah, it'll be all like this. Okay, that's great, Fundador, that you can hit some diva notes. Okay. We're waiting for some Johnny Cash songs. Oh my God, you know something? I am so bad at that because I actually don't know a Johnny Cash song, and I work with this country artist right now. She's singing a lot of these old Johnny Cash songs, and so I am going to learn some. Maybe I'll present one in the next or the next one after that. Sing something, yeah. So Johnny Cash. Okay. Any other questions you guys have? Awesome. Well, good. Thank you, Stephanie. Few things. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button on this video. Despite it being choppy, we will put it up so you can review it again. But I'll probably do the exact same one again, just so that we get this in good shape. Either I'll do it live or I'll just do it and put it up there, and then we'll do another more advanced one later on. You know, we have, someone's asking, yeah, what tips do you have for stage fright? Oh my God, okay, we could go all night on this one. We could do a whole one on this. The first thing is, new situations are always gonna present themselves. Even tonight, you know, I was thinking about just before doing this tonight, and I was like, oh, a little bit of nervous flurry, which I don't usually have. And even tonight, you know, I was thinking about just before doing this tonight, and I was like, oh, a little bit of nervous flurry, which I don't usually have. And usually in my living room, maybe some stuffed teddy bears or something, I could put them there, right? So the first thing is being very well prepared, you know. There's a reason they practice Broadway shows for months and months and months, and then take it to Boston before they even open it in New York. I don't know how many people know that Boston is always, since the beginning of musical theater, the testing ground, and they bring a show up here every single show quietly for a week or two and work out all the kinks. And then they open it up on Broadway. So it's like being prepared, you know, there's nothing like that. You know, just when you think you've rehearsed, you know, a song enough and you have a show, do it 20 more times without blowing your voice out, you know. I remember one time we had this girl group, Jada, who, if you can find them online, there's a great a cappella of them doing Who's Loving You. If you do Jada video rap straight in LA. And I said to them, you know, you have to sing for this crew, and all the extras in Hollywood here, they think you're a bunch of lip syncers, you know. And so they did, and then it blew everybody's minds. But the thing is, they were so well drilled, you know, over and over and over. And we had this Christmas show one time they were going to be doing on CBS. And, you know, it was like 7 o'clock at night. And they're like, yeah, we're done. We're good. And we go in and see them. And we're like, no. And literally, they had to rehearse for about another 5 hours that night. But, man, they were flawless on, because it was live TV the next night. And they were flawless to the point where everyone thought they had lip synced to the show. Stage fright is, be so prepared, be overly prepared. Everything you're going to say, all your gestures. You know, the big thing in performance is when we have kinds of things, whatever you're going to use for gestures, you've got to drill it over and over and over. You know, the more you do this, there's going to be mistakes. You're going to forget words. You're going to fall. You know, just go look at all the times Beyonce's fallen, you know, on YouTube. Just gets right back up and does her show, you know, and lots of other people. All kinds of crazy stuff happens. So you can't be fearful of that. It's going to happen sooner or later. The more you do anything, there's always some kind of glitch, like this, you know, glitchy internet. So you have that, and then you have a very key thing is people get overwhelmed by the number of people in the room, you know. So a good thing to do is come in and just sing to one person. Look at somebody and sing to them. Then look over at someone else and sing to them. We drill this stuff over and over and over in performance. And it's a step improvement in all these different areas of performance that by the time you're done, you're kind of like, what was the problem? You know, it doesn't mean that you'll never be nervous again, because there's always something more important. You know, there's always, I remember, you know, especially as you scale up, I remember the first time I sang for 10,000 people, and man, my knees were knocking. You know, I think I was 18. And it was like, oh my God. And it didn't hit me till I was out on stage. You know, I was ready to rock. You know, it was like, bam, you know, I had gone from maybe 400 or 500 people to 10,000. You know, it was crazy. Let's see what else you guys have. Oh yeah, I am a vocal coach, yeah. We have a staff that teaches my method. Everything I just described to you is my method, but people don't usually generally need to see me until they're at the more advanced stages, you know, because I like to work to prepare. Generally, you don't need me. The people who teach, you know, my method and who've been trained by me, they're amazing. They just get everybody through it. And I usually test everybody at the end of level 1. So you are getting me, because the standard is, you know, it's got to be perfect at the end of it. Oh yeah. So Denise, on pitch. This is a duplication exercise in most cases, meaning you take a little kid who hasn't learned his colors yet, and you go, what color is that? And he goes, blue. What color is that? Blue. What, you know, and we have to start to be able to discern. So there are drills that we have to do. You'll get better at this just by singing. You know, you get better at singing just by singing. So sing a lot. Don't strain. You know, if you find yourself straining, definitely come in and see us. You know, singing. There are pitch exercises where you just sit there, you play that note, and before you even hum it or sing it, you hear it in your head first, and you make a copy in your head, and then you go, and you've got to sing it perfectly, and then another one, and you just skip all around. That's one exercise we do with people, and it works really, really well. Okay, I hope that answered that for you. That's definitely a good place to start on that. Okay, good. Any other, some of the commonly asked questions. Well, Laura wanted to know, what are some of the commonly asked questions? There used to be unreal things like, well, what color will my dream? Common questions are a range. How do I increase my range? There's a way to do that, and it starts with breathing. It starts with these vowels. It's the combination of those two things, and then we have to really work with exercises to get you to just pop that note out, like boom, boom, boom. And there's no effort here. It's a push from here. If you all can do, hopefully it's not too loud where you are, but if you can do a shout while keeping your hand here, like, hey, you'll feel this push of the abdominal muscles. That is how you support these tones. Okay, Joseph, we can get your falsetto back. We had a guy come in, and his falsetto was so non-existent, he was the bass. In Joseph, we can get your falsetto back. We had a guy come in, and his falsetto was so non-existent, he was the bass in his, you know what I'm talking about. Unbelievable, and you can't shut him up. Before it was all bass stuff. His falsetto is amazing. And I remember his teacher, who had never really run into that extreme before, coming out to me after his lesson, all concerned. I said, listen, just do the exercises. It's going to sort it out. And now that's all I hear coming out of this guy, And he's like 62 or something, but he had nothing. The whole thing with vocals, you have this condition, where people get nodes or polyps. Nodes are just calluses on the vocal cords, from banging on them so much and stressing them so much, and then doing it again the next night and the next night and the next night. And after a while, they'll build up a callus, right? So then we can't make a clean seal of the air going. So you have to stop singing. People who have contracts that are going to bankrupt people if they don't go perform, they have to go get laser surgery, which is not great at all. We have maybe only ever had 2 people with vocal problems, and that's because they, behind our backs, broke all the rules, in all the years we've been doing this. No one blows out their voice. So your falsetto, Joseph, it's never gone unless there's something physically wrong with your voice. Because this is going to be on YouTube, I could tell you some stories, but I can't say the names. The famous people. But one person, I kept saying, I need you to go see a doctor. 2 different people, because they did have some upper range stuff going on. It was not that it was missing, there was just something funny every time I heard it. And I'm like, I need someone to look down your throat. One of them came back, when he had polyps, which are growths, and it's kind of like when I was a kid, we would take and tie them to the spokes on our bike, and well, that's what would happen, if you have a polyp there. It's a growth, usually that would have to get removed. And then there's, calluses, which, nodes, which will just go away on their own if you just go easy, everyone that's ever come in with those. How you can tell if you have nodes is certain notes just won't come out. But in the case of this falsetto with you, Joseph, that's not necessarily the case. It's more like random notes are missing, not like a whole upper part of your range. That's usually, that can be all gotten back. It's organic, so it's sort of like, if your muscle was getting weaker and weaker and weaker, well, we've got to do something to build it up, and I can't, but plenty of the people we teach can. About can you whistle like Mariah Carey? And there are some guys who can. Well, let's see. I thought I sang a little bit of something, but I'll sing something for you. I'll sing what I was singing there, Desperado. Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for so long now. Oh, you're a hard one. I know that You got your reasons. These things that are pleasing you can't. Don't you draw the queen of diamonds, boy. She'll beat you if she's able. Queen of hearts is always your best bet. Seems to me some fine things have been laid upon your table. You only want the ones that you can get. Desperado, oh, you ain't getting no younger. Your pain and your hunger are driving you home. And freedom, well, that's just some people talking. These things that are pleasing you somehow. And I forgot the last couple of words, but I don't know how many of you noticed that. So, haven't sung that in a while. Okay, I hope that came across okay. Do you think it's important for a singer to know or learn to play an instrument? Yeah, piano or guitar, because eventually you're going to want to write. Now, it doesn't mean you can't write without that stuff. So I've heard some amazing songs that people just had in their head. In fact, sometimes the best songs stand up all on their own without even, any music, So, you can do that. But then there's being able to accompany yourself, which is always fun, even if it's just for you, play some guitar, play some piano. We do a lot of that. We train a lot of people in just basic piano to be able to accompany themselves. In just basic piano to be able to accompany themselves. Well, thank you for my stuff. I'm so busy in the studio all the time. I hardly ever get to sing. So actually, this is was kind of fun doing this for you guys. So that's all we're going to do for tonight. We'll probably send you guys some kind of survey, if you don't mind filling it out sometime this week, just to find out what other things you would like us to talk about and do some seminars on. I know some of you actually mentioned things already when you signed up, because in this time everybody's home, and it's we haven't experienced anything like this in our lives, and so we have to create a community here, and there are many people doing that right now online, and it's kind of cool because it's a way of connecting with everyone. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will post this even though it might be jumpy, or I'll do another one. Okay, so thank you for coming. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and stay in touch. If you want to find out more about the program, you can call the studio number. You can find that on the webpage. You can talk to me about your voice. You can call the studio. What's great right now is I'm usually not available at all, and I am available, so you can call the studio number, and we can chat. Okay? Stay safe, stay well, and thanks for coming. Good night.